My name is Hugo Morales. I'm a composer from Mexico City, although I live in the Netherlands for about 14 years now. My interest is mainly in exploring instruments. I started my music education by playing an instrument, in this case electric guitar. So I always had this relationship between instrument and music and how to create music by playing. And then I started doing composition, and I continued kind of with the same kind of practice of getting an instrument and trying to explore different sounds and trying to get my own sounds with an existing instrument, rather than asking a performer to give me the tricks or getting them from a book. I felt that it was more organic for me to get the instrument and explore it myself, and then try to find ways of notating that and explaining that to the performer. And that I find that already from a very early stage in my formation. And so I continued doing that, and then when I came to Holland, I started doing composition. And to my surprise, there was this Institute of Sonology also as part of the conservatory, which is basically, well, it's a bunch of things, but it's basically what it's known as music technology. And but it's mainly for me, the interest was that it was an institute that is really focused on the study of sound as material for music composition. So I could really concentrate in my studies there in formalizing all these kind of practice that I had previously in a more formal way, and to be able to use it in composition. So for me to have these two studies, parallel studies, one composition formally and sonology, was very fruitful, I found in my experience studying in the Netherlands. Well, I had yesterday one piece performed. I will have two pieces hopefully performed today. One was for violin. There was a commission from Barbara Lunenburg to write a piece for violin. Another one was is for harp. And I think for me it's interesting to have these two pieces because although they are very far apart in the period that I composed them, they reflect something that I'm still very interested in exploring, which is how to approach an existing instrument or an existing practice and create something personal from it. In the case of a commission from Milana Saric, that is the piece for harp, it was really having the harp in my studio for a couple of weeks and exploring the mechanism of this very, very complex instrument. And the way I did it was by creating a system where the harpist kind of activates motors that are on the soundboard with the pedals, and those motors are connected to different strings. So in that sense, the harpist never really plays with the hands, but is actually just activating almost as a machine different motors that are there located in the harp. And obviously, I mean, that is all composed in a way that the resonance is going through the whole piece and fluctuating over the course of the piece. And which for me was interesting because it's this idea of how to play an instrument without really playing it, but it's more really how the instrumentalist becomes almost like operating a machine without really having to use any expression as we normally call it in contemporary music or in music in general, traditionally. 10 seconds. The commission from Barbara Ullenburg, as I said, for writing a piece for violin, which was very interesting for me because it's this iconic instrument of the European tradition, and I didn't really know what to do with that. It's so fragile, so small, Normally I prepare instruments like in the case of the harp, but this very small instrument. So what I decided to do was more to focus on the violin player as a character, and what is this very weird posture of playing an instrument, almost artificial, and how other objects can actually become a violin in that sense. So that's why I preferred in that piece to take different objects and try to play them as a violin, how to play them in different ways, such as the violin, but not really creating the sound of a violin, but with the same kind of technique. So there were 4 different objects, including a violin, but without the strings, just with a kind of latex attached to it. And my plan with that piece is to continue kind of exploring the same idea of using different objects and playing them as violins. The third piece is a premiere, that is this commission to write a piece for the letters on this theater, on the top, on the roof of the theater. And it was quite a challenge because when I first got the idea or the proposal to write this piece, I didn't know also how to approach it, because I normally work with the stuff. As I said, I have to go there and work with the things or have them in my studio. And here I only have 3 days to work on this with these letters. So we were for already 3 days intensively working on how to create sounds with these letters, with a very intense sun throughout the day. But yeah, hopefully it can be performed tonight if it doesn't rain. Yeah, I think that naturally, by working in this way, I've been having different interests, and also technology plays an important role in my work. So I guess that if I have the chance to continue living the dream of working as a composer and really being able to do that full time, I guess that my interest will continue in exploring these interfaces for traditional music, and because I think that it's a very broad world of tradition next to technology and next to aesthetics, and I think that it's really the possibilities to explore are there and will continue to be there, and more music is appearing also. I'm not only working alone, there's also many influences from colleagues or from pop music or even from contemporary music that are there. So I'm just trying to avoid your question of really saying something in particular, but I think that, yeah, it will be just continue working and see what happens.